To make this quick sourdough yeast loaf, it's best to use a Dutch oven. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees. Place your Dutch oven into the oven and allow it to heat up as you're preparing the dough. I call this my sourdough discard loaf because it's my favorite way to use up extra sourdough starter that I have. The ingredients you're going to need is flour, sourdough starter, dry active yeast, water, and salt. Warm up 1 3/4 cup of water to a warm temperature. Pour that water into a mixing bowl. And next you're going to add 2 teaspoons of dry active yeast. Then you'll add 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. Next, add 1/2 cup of your active sourdough starter. And mix all of these ingredients up together so that the water helps dissolve the yeast. Finally, you're going to add 3 cups of your unbleached all-purpose organic flour. Okay, mix everything together up really well until you achieve a wet, shaggy dough. Once you've done that, go ahead and cover your dough with a damp tea towel and set it aside to rise. Wait about an hour-ish for it to rise. And after that time, you want to prepare a large square piece of parchment paper. And you'll be turning your dough out on this. So you'll see here, this is the dough after it's expanded for about an hour. I take my handy dough scraper and I'm going to scrape the sides of the bowl underneath the dough and kind of pull it up onto itself, onto the center of the dough, kind of forming like a loaf mass inside of the bowl. And then I'm gonna carefully dump that out onto the center of the parchment paper the best that I can. Now at this point, I take my dough scraper and I kind of scoot it underneath the dough like I was doing in the bowl, and I pull the sides of the dough onto the center again like I was doing. And this creates tension and also creates a bit of a shape, because unlike other loaves that you'll do where you shape it when it's not so wet and sticky on the underside, this one we're actually going to do the opposite, where we're shaping it onto the top. And just be aware, mine looks different every single time. It's definitely a rustic loaf. So go ahead and take your dough on the parchment paper and carefully remove your lid. It's going to be very hot, and place it into your Dutch oven, and replace the lid back onto your Dutch oven. And you're going to cook your loaf for 25 minutes. And after 25 minutes, you will remove the lid and cook for an additional 5 to 10 minutes until the desired brownness or doneness is achieved on top. Carefully remove your your loaf onto a heat-safe surface and allow it to cool. And there you have it. Try your best to resist the urge to cut into it right away. Sometimes that can leave the inside to be gummy and not the best texture. So instead, if you wait 15 to 20 minutes at least, it'll still be warm when you cut it open, but it'll allow the inside to fully cook. And look at that crust. This recipe was the perfect way for me to use up my remaining yeast for the upcoming Passover holiday. That'll be here in just about a day by the time you see this posted. So that all the sourdough starter and yeast needs to be out of my home. So this is one of my favorite ways to use that, but all year round I really love it, because from start to finish it only takes maybe max 2.5 hours from the time I start, from the time it's done cooking and cooled, to be able to enjoy this with a meal. So I love this with my favorite soup, or I'll cut it up and use it as like a rustic sandwich bread, or it's often half-eaten at least with some delicious grass-fed butter. So I hope you enjoy this recipe and try it when you get the chance. Shalom!